Okay, so today I will be analysing the poem The Character of a Happy Life by Henry Wotton. So, first of all, the deeper meaning. The poet intends to convince the readers to be detached from human vices and to live a humble life which will lead to happiness. He is persuading us to become independent from material obligations. The poem is quite didactic in tone, which means that the writer intends to teach the readers a message or an important moral. So, this is the first stanza of the poem, which is a total of 6 stanzas long. How happy is he born and taught that serveth not another's will, whose armour is his honest thought and simple truth his utmost skill. So, in the first line, we have the aspirant alliteration, how happy he, which conveys the poet's assertiveness and sets a happy and upbeat tone for the verses that follow. The speaker also implies that people who have independence of thought and control over their own decision making tend to have a happier life. While this is quite evident to us, we must take into account that in the time period, we have to take into account the time period that the poem was written, which was around the 16th century, where many ordinary people did not have the luxury of independent thought and education. So during the time, education was taken for granted. He states that learning and education is an armor that will protect us from dishonesty and deception. This is seen in the metaphor in the third line. These metaphors also convey the idea that concepts such as honesty and truth can be learned. In Henry's view, these are not inherent character traits. Nobody is born wearing armor. In this way, Henry suggests that happiness and contentment, which rely on honesty and truth, can be acquired through patience, skill, and learning. Whose passions not his masters are, whose soul is still prepared for death, untied unto the world by care of public fame or private breath. So first we have the Anaphora in the repetition of whose, which adds to the assertive tone in the poem, as if the speaker were a wise philosopher delivering the readers a moral lesson. We also have the reiteration of the previous idea, when the speaker said that in order to be happy, we must be free from another's will. And this is seen when he says that whose passions not his masters are. So independence seems to be a clear theme in this poem and a quality that the poet believes will allow someone to be truly content. We also have binary oppositions in the last line between public fame and private breath, which suggests that happiness lies not in the extremes of life, but by finding a way to walk in the middle path. Henry warns us that seeking adulation and adoration from others will lead one to care too much about what people might think of you. So Henry's solution is not to retreat into the opposite world of private breaths, but to find happiness in between these two extreme worlds. Finding a course through the middle is a key theme that Henry uses in his advice on being happy in life. Who envies none that chance doth raise, nor vice who never understood how deepest wounds are given by praise, nor rules of state but rules of good. So the poet separates each piece of advice using caesura. This could mirror one piece of advice as being much like a piece of a puzzle, and that only when it is all put together does it complete a picture of happiness. Praises or compliments are said to be a cause of unhappiness. This is seen in the metaphor, deepest wounds are given by praise. The central theme of the poem is to rely on one's own thinking, not on anyone else's. So again, that links back to independence. Praise can lead to big egos and so can therefore be damaging. We must also remember that praise is not always sincere, so it can lead us to create an image of ourselves that is false and is not real. Who hath his life from rumours freed, whose conscience is his strong retreat, whose state can neither flatterers feed, nor ruin make oppressors great. So we have the extended metaphor of a battle in strong retreat, and this metaphor we saw it in the first stanza in reference to armor, and then deepest wounds in the second stanza, I think it was. So this just shows that happiness does not come naturally, and it is not given for free. It must be fought for and defended. We also have the use of fricative alliteration, neither flatterers feed, which replicate the whispery, sly tones of those who would gull you for their own benefit and seek to tempt you from that middle path which will guide you towards happiness. We are warned in the last verse, nor ruin make oppressors great, not to mistake brute force for greatness. Those who seek their own happiness should be careful not to trample and tread on the dreams of others as they do so, as seen in Oppressors. Who God doth late and early pray more of his grace than gifts to lend, and entertains the harmless day with a religious book or friend. So here the speaker intends to convey the message that happiness does not lie in earthly achievements or the allure of materiality. It's becoming more and more obvious that Henry defines happiness as an abstract idea. It's grace rather than gifts. We also have the guttural alliteration in grace and gifts, which implies strength, not the kind of brute force found in oppressors, but the kind of strength that shows resilience in keeping up with regular prayers and following religious faith. And then the reference to religious book, it is a concrete symbol which represents abstract concepts such as companionship, religious devotion, and lifelong learning that Henry equates to a happy life. This man is freed from servile bands, of hope to rise or fear to fall, lord of himself, though not of lands, and having nothing, yet hath all. So in the second line, hope to rise warns against the dangers of excessive ambition, as the fear to fall might paralyze one completely in life. Lord of himself, though not of lands, repeats this warning against the temptations of material or earthly goods as a route to happiness. And then in the last line we have paradox, which is when one half of the line seems to contradict the other, and having nothing yet hath all. We understand here that the speaker is referring to finding the middle ground as the road towards happiness, and not trying to find happiness in an extreme. Okay, so the topic areas for if this essay were to come up in an exam, these are the ones I would use. So for the first topic area, we should not give into worldly desires such as materialism and fame. Then I would focus on how we must find happiness between the two extremes. It is the middle road that will guide us towards contentment. And for the final topic area, religion and faith will allow us to find peace within ourselves and therefore happiness and contentment in life. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching.